Eagle River Secondary is a small high school of about 150 kids in grades 8 to 12 and shrinking. Our communities, Sicamous, Malacca, Mara, and the surrounding area are all shrinking dramatically in population. Of course, with shrinking enrollment comes shrinking budget and shrinking staffing. With shrinking staffing comes a reduction in course offerings. When faced with the decision of cutting out course offerings, many classes with smaller enrollment are the ones being cut out of our timetable. Mostly classes like senior sciences such as physics, chemistry, biology, or calculus. But who takes courses like these? Kids interested in university who want to study engineering, sciences, or medicine. And if you don't offer the courses like these students are headed down the highway to the bigger schools that do offer them. Our school has a very innovative staff. The approaches to learning and teaching have always been progressive and student-centered. With our enrollment declining though, we had to become innovative on a whole new level, a school-wide level. We knew that the traditional high school 4-block rotation semester timetable was no longer going to work in our situation. So what to do? As a staff, we talked and discussed and argued and brainstormed and collaborated. We researched and reported, then talked and discussed and argued and brainstormed and collaborated some more. It was like a dog chasing its own tail, but we knew that innovation wasn't just a good thing for us, it was necessary. We also knew that personalized learning might be the ticket. At that time, as it is now, but to a lesser extent, personalized learning was somewhat undefined, so we saw an opportunity to make our own definition and make it work for us. As a staff, we took a long, hard look in the mirror. Who are we? What do we hope for our kids? What are we good at? Well, we are exceptional at building relationships with kids. We are exceptional at going that extra mile. We always find a way. We always find a way to meet the needs of our students, whatever they may be. And we all know that the number one factor in a student's success is the relationship he or she has with a teacher. So we're in good shape with regards to a starting point, but what next? How do we use this strength to transform our school? All the discussion and arguing were getting us nowhere. Believe me, it was not from a lack of good intentions or trying. So we went on a road trip. We had the awesome support and faith of the district staff, and they arranged a visit for us in School District 8 for a small group of teachers and me, the principal. We saw some amazing things at some amazing schools on our trip, but we realized right away that as amazing as it all was, much of it would not work for us. Our school is unique and has unique needs, as do all schools. But it really opened up our way of thinking. We were now seeing what outside the box looks like. We started thinking, talking, arguing in a much more productive way. The group of us went out for dinner and talked about what we had seen. The conversation turned into what ifs, what abouts, and why nots. Later on, we talked more. We had lots of laughs, camaraderie, and bonding, which is all great stuff and very important, but the conversation still revolved around innovation and reinventing our school. The energy, the ideas, and new thinking was awesome. We had a plan. We went back to ERS all fired up, collaborated with the rest of the staff, and put our plan in motion. We began calling our transformation a culture of yes. And we started with staff and elective course offerings first. We asked our staff, if you could teach anything in the world you wanted to, anything, what would it be? And is there a way to get kids high school credit in different and interesting courses? Remember, forget everything else for a minute. This is the culture of yes. The answer to the questions were astounding. The elective courses kids can take at ERS are incredible, but we also had to innovate how to make them work in new and accessible ways to students. We also went to our kids. Is there something you'd like to learn? Are you passionate about something outside of school that we might be able to turn into a course?
The first fundamental change to our timetable is putting all the electives in the afternoon on a Copernicum schedule while keeping the academic classes, social, science, math, and English in the morning on a traditional semester timeline. The benefits to the electives were obvious. First, we could offer up to 32 singleton electives. The students had genuine choice because the electives did not conflict with the required academics. Second, the electives could be scheduled strategically to make use of the weather, geocaching in the fall, horticulture in the spring. And third, elective teachers were free to leave campus regularly without interfering with other courses. The social justice class went to the food bank, thrift store, and gleaners, each on a weekly basis, without interfering with academic subjects. At one point the first year, I noticed 5 out of the 8 elective classes were venturing out of the school building on the same day. With the changes looming, one teacher astutely pointed out that our electives had changed but we weren't doing anything to improve the academic culture of our school. So we came up with Sub 60, a study class scheduled during elective time where teachers refer students to when they drop below 60%. Instead of the students hovering around 50, they started to hover around 60.
With personalized learning gaining ground in BC's education system and a new timetable on the horizon, we knew that we had to change the way that we offered electives. To start, we asked our staff, what are you passionate about? Many of them had great ideas of ways that they could incorporate their personal hobbies and interests into elective classes. They came to us with ideas from hockey to bird watching, horticulture to music composition, and fashion design to creative writing. Once we had a preliminary list of over 45 electives, we asked each teacher to come up with a brief presentation to introduce the proposed electives. Since we only had enough staffing for 32 electives, we used student interest to decide which ones were offered. The majority of the electives that were chosen were already ministry-approved courses, so only a few had to go through the board authorization process. Our teachers worked hard with existing PLOs to design electives that matched current ministry courses. Elective courses such as book club and creative writing allowed students to gain English credits. Also, we were able to offer geocaching and horticulture as Science 11 credits. A Science 11 is necessary to graduate, so this gave students more options on ways to meet the requirements. As with any change, there were things that we were expecting and a few surprises along the way. One of the first things we noticed immediately was increased student engagement. The students felt like they had a say in what direction their education was going and that they were able to control the outcomes. Now students were complaining that there were too many cool electives to choose from. There was also an increase in school pride as students in the school improvement class were building projects like benches, tables, and a greenhouse that were being used by other students. Since we were only able to offer 32 of the proposed electives, some students were still interested in pursuing courses that we didn't offer. This is when the independent directed studies courses fit in perfectly. In these IDS courses, students designed a custom-tailored curriculum around current ministry PLOs. Through courses such as piano, hunting, survival, book publishing, and mountain biking, students were able to gain graduation credits. As shown in this picture, Corbin earned PE, woodwork, and math credits for designing, building, and using bike ramps, while also pursuing his passion and career goals of becoming a professional mountain biker.
We knew quite early into the second semester that some things weren't working as well as we had hoped, and so we needed to do some tweaking on things in order for them to be more effective next year. For example, the senior academics were really difficult to do in the afternoons because they move so fast in the Copernican system. The grade 8s also weren't part of the timetable and had to be timetabled separately. If the students were in a lunch class, that meant that they went quite early in the day all the way through the day without a break, which had some other issues. And there were still many single classes. What we actually found afterwards was that there was an increase in attendance. That was a big surprise, as was the number of tardies that had decreased. We were able to have a happier staff and happier students. The ability to have all afternoon classes meant that we were able to take students on field trips all afternoon. We had an increase in sports participation, which we were not expecting, and included in that was an increase in the number of student choices. We actually had more choices than we thought we would going in. With this, we needed to look at some of the other options. There were also some other things that we were hoping to see that we actually did find. There was an increase in IDS with success. We had increased SSA and apprenticeships. We had an increase in the possible students doing work experience. We were able to change some of our electives and make them more effective when they were being taught.
With a successful year partly finished, we became excited about the possibilities of the new BC Ed plan. So with permission to implement the new curriculum, we transformed our academic subjects at the grade 8-9 level by introducing multi-grade cross-curricular project-based units. These units have increased student choice substantially and solved our problem of having 33 students in both grade 8 and grade 9, since we could effectively split the 66 students 3 ways. Students choose one of 3 options in any given unit, and the units change 6 times per year. This year alone, there are many multiple pathways a student can take to receive credit for socials and science, and from a staffing standpoint, it only takes 6 teaching blocks of time. On the elective front, we implemented a year-long block to accommodate band, yearbook, and PE in the afternoon, which made the remaining 3 elective blocks function on the trimester system, which was a benefit to upper-level academic subjects that had to be taught in the afternoon.
What we realized when we decided to put the grade 8 and 9s together in one block was that this was a great opportunity to make it an inquiry block. Using project-based learning and the new curriculums, we were able to expand into an inquiry model using the competencies placed in front of us, but because it was competencies based, it meant that there was not going to be any grades. What this meant in reality was that our core block was then focusing on both science and social studies at the same time cross-curricularly. The competencies themselves were addressed over the course of 6 projects that the students got to choose. They also had an opportunity to explore those topics within 40 hours of instruction for each project. This meant that we were able to get 8 blocks worth of students into 6 teaching blocks, saving 1 block per semester over the year.
So we've got a very good thing going at ERS. There's a very positive energy or hum among staff and students toward learning and teaching, but also toward the whole concept of school and what school is. Don't get us wrong, it's not perfect. There were and are naysayers. There are things that we hadn't considered, and we have our share of problems. But we've become a team of problem solvers. Most importantly, I would say, is that we've become a team of risk takers. We know that we'll make mistakes and that problems will arise, but know it's nothing we can't handle. And this attitude toward taking risks and making mistakes is also what we would hope for our students to be learning as well. This winter, we've had about a dozen schools call and ask to visit us, which is very rewarding and validating. The advice I would offer is to open up the walls of what you're doing and what you're thinking. Check out new things and let new things guide you to what is right and what works for your school in your community. Become risk takers and problem solvers. Come with a plan that works for your school and stick with it, but be ready to adapt it midstream if need be. Adopt a culture of yes. It's worked very well for us. Don't sit back and focus on all the reasons why something won't work, but why something will work. And remember, if you're not on the bus, you're under it.